The Halal Travel Podcast.
Assalamualaikum everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Halal Travel Podcast. I'm Sufi, your host for today. We are so excited to take you with us on the journey of the Halal Travel Podcast, where we talk all about self-growth. So in this episode, we have a special guest, Miss Siti Mariam. Hello. A principal therapist from the private space. So hi,
Hello.
Miss Siti Mariam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay. So we are very humbled. We are very humbled to have you as our guest for this episode, where we talk about body positivity. So perhaps for our audience out there who may not know you, could you please give a brief introduction about yourself and also like a brief background about your experience as a senior therapist?
Right. Hi everyone, my name is Siti. Thank you for inviting me. I realized that on your website you describe your guests as amazing guests. So thank you for letting me be one of them. Yeah. So I'm currently practicing as a principal therapist at Private Space Medical. My background. So I started out as a social worker, a few years in the community, and then I moved over to the medical line.
Okay.
And I had been a medical social worker for about, I think, 18 years. And then I decided to resign to further my studies. Just finished, Alhamdulillah. And now I am with private space medical as a senior, as a principal therapist. So my background basically, so maybe more about my passion in this area. Mental health is one. My other passions include end of life, medical trauma, grief. These are the areas.
So you delve deep into like psychology.
Psychology is one area that we go into. It's part of what we do. Yeah.
I've always wanted to maybe become like a therapist. That was like one of my ambitions lah.
Inshallah.
But I think I'm not cut for it because myself, maybe I need a therapist, guys. I need. So this is like my free therapy session, maybe. I don't know.
We can see how it goes. But I charge by the hour.
Okay. Okay. So in today's episode, we will be talking more about like body positivity. Especially, I think this topic is really relevant, especially among youths. I'm 22. Of course, body positivity is like one of the biggest topics that we talk about, right?
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but the main topic that encompasses body positivity is self-criticism. So before we talk about body positivity, how would you define self-criticism?
Okay, so this is not my definition. This is basically how we try to define self-criticism. Basically, it's how one looks at yourself in terms of how you appraise yourself, how you evaluate, how you assess yourself. When we talk about self-criticism, there's probably a spectrum. There's a different school of thoughts about how we look at it, but basically you can look at it from the very light where perhaps maybe just at how you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, or even experiencing yourself, all the way to or maybe in the middle where you feel like, some days you feel inadequate, you don't feel satisfied, to all the way to the other extreme where it's about how you might how you value yourself, how you blame or even feel shame about the way you are. Yeah, so self-criticism is quite a wide spectrum.
Okay, so you said something about like how we value ourselves, right? I think I can like feel for like that term that you just said to us, because like first of all, I'm like the eldest, the only daughter. And then I have like a younger sibling that, and I feel like in a Malay community especially, right, the expectations that parents or like family, society in general have on like eldest daughter or like daughters in general is so, they expect so high from us. So what do you think is like the societal influences that may impact people having self-criticism behavior?
Okay. So I think first of all, very importantly, is we live in a society or generation now where a lot of things are very tied to economics, finance, right? Business. So if you look around, like you just look at your handphone, right? You look at all your social media, or you just walk out to the shopping mall, you see all these images and things like this. These are basically things to get you to spend money or think about spending money, or getting you to think about, having a certain lifestyle, wanting a certain way of living, right? So there's a lot of pressure to think that this is the ideal way of living. And there's a lot of very hidden, okay, I wouldn't say hidden, but more subtle messages about expectations about how we should be, what is how we should be looking, what is the definition of beauty, what is the right way of saying like, oh, you are good enough, So so in my practice, and I think this is really coming out a lot more nowadays, with us constantly being in the glare of social media, is that am I good enough? For whatever that society or where I am, how I think people are looking at me, or how I need to think to look at myself.
Okay, like because of like social media, people might compare themselves with another individual. For example, like a social media influencer. I will not name anyone lah, but okay, social media influencers, they post, oh, I'm living this life, going to this hotel, blah blah blah. And then when we okay, can I talk like about, okay, so when I see, right, I feel like, okay, I want to try it, but I think deep down it's like not that healthy, because I want to strive for something that maybe I cannot get. But okay, what are the ways that I can do so that I can also go to this Dior Cafe, for example, or like go to this staycation at this hotel, Sometimes some people go all the way out to like get something that they can because of like social media. So like, have you heard any stories about
Of course.
Yeah.
I even before we get into influencers, and social media, just think about yourself and your friends, right? So when you are with your friends, right, and you are in conversation with them, and then they tell you like, oh, I got this dress and things like, oh, they come, for a gathering, and then you see someone wearing something nice, right? Like today, somebody was complimenting you on your on your tudung and your baju, and then for some of us like, oh, that's very nice, I think that's going to look nice on me. How come I don't have that? And that's where the self-criticism might come in, like, how come I don't have a good fashion sense like her? How come I cannot wear as nice and beautiful as her? How is it that even if I'm going to wear like that, I know it will not look nice on me, So we have to look very far, even among people that we are close with, even with our family sometimes, more like our peers and our friends, that self-comparison naturally comes. And it's very human for us to compare. So what we see on social media, where it's very, I would say, quite packaged, the kind of things that they present to us, right? They're always nicely dressed, right? Their face is nicely made up, right? And the places they go is always very beautiful. But do we really think about those times when they're not on social media, right? Do they always lead that kind of lifestyle,
Yeah, true.
right? And do they always look good, right? And I think more importantly is, do they also always feel good? Right? We only see what we see, and it is like that. That's the power of constant advertisement, I would say lah. Constant exposure to things. When you see often enough, your brain is sort of like influenced to believe like, oh, that must be something attractive.
That's true.
Right? How many times have you seen something beautiful on social media?
A lot of times.
Right? And then, for example, like a nice scarf.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go down to the shop and realize, oh, it doesn't look as nice as I thought.
Yeah. I feel like the influencers that I follow is all like the atas-atas one. Like, Naomi Neo. Or like KOLs who were invited to like, you know how there's like recently there's like a Dior cafe at Desaru.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, now I know.
So it's a beach club. So like when I see that,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a good thing, but me and my friend immediately when we saw like the Malaysian celebrities went to the cafe, it's not that we feel pressured to like book, but it's because of their influences and maybe like, okay, we also want to try to be like atas, you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
I take you back. What do you call them?
Influencers.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's their job.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing that they are trying to do, to get you to be influenced to believe that whatever they are putting in front is desirable. Is good and it probably meets what you want, right? But whether you need it is something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I would say it's not always easy to be able to navigate. But I also want to point out that there's nothing wrong in wanting to strive for a better life. Right? You see something is interesting and maybe that can be used as a way to motivate you.
Yeah. But I feel like there's a fine line. Sometimes people go all the way out, you know, and then like, I don't like, I need to like work 2 part-time jobs to, I don't know, maybe afford this kind of lifestyle. They go all the way out, but there's a fine line lah. Some people, okay, it's good that this is like, a sense of motivation for us to like strive for a better life, right?
Yeah.
But some people, the pressure, I feel like, especially in, I can see for myself, and then like some of my peers also who are of like the same age group, I think we are really pressured to like be, I don't know, like be of some sort of a level. So what advice do you would like to give us?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the reason behind wanting to be at that level? What is it that you really want to achieve?
I think like we want to feel like we also want to live that lifestyle, and sometimes it's not within our means. That's the problem, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But what's behind the idea of wanting to live that kind of lifestyle? If you live that kind of lifestyle, how would that make you feel?
I think it's like instant gratification. Like, it feels nice lah to have like all of these very nice things in life, right? Yeah, but I feel like at some point it's not healthy. Maybe we need to be like content with what we have in life. Yeah, but I don't think like some youths get that concept, you know. So is there any like advice for youths to like feel content like with their like life right now, so that they won't like self-criticize themselves that much?
Okay. So I would say that instant gratification is very normal. I mean, if you are given a choice between something you can receive now versus you have to wait, and then you get a slightly bigger reward, which one would you go? Most people would go for
The instant.
yes.
Yeah.
And then with how we are living our lifestyle now, where we need information straight away, right? It has probably conditioned us to feel like, okay, I see this and I want it, I'm just gonna get it, right? So I think the fine line is what you're trying to like. Where do I know that I have to draw, this fine line? When does it become too much? When do I cross the line?
Yeah.
Right? So is it really wrong to live beyond your means? I think you have to ask that question first. If is living beyond your means, what is the cost of it?
Okay.
Is it something that you are willing to actually pay for the cost of whatever that is? Is it worth it? And for me, it's always about what is driving that behavior or that motivation. Is it that you want to feel like you can be accepted? You're worried and concerned that if you're not seen as living a certain way or having certain things or liking certain things even, that you are not part of what is normal and acceptable. And it, for us, we all strive to want to be accepted.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
Yeah, and it's very, again, very, very human for us to want validation, to be affirmed, and again, to know that we are good enough. Right, I'm going to use this term a lot.
Good enough.
Good enough. Yeah. Okay, so why I'm saying that, I'm going to say a lot about good enough because in my practice, even before I come into private practice and when I was already supporting a lot of patients in the hospital, supporting my juniors and things like that, a lot of things that came up is I must be the best. I hear that a lot. I must be the best, I must excel, I don't think I've done enough, I must be better, even better. So I always have to like get them to pause and ask themselves like, so what do you mean by being the best? Can you always be your best? Yes, it's good that you can do your best, but what does that mean, right? And when I ask them, are you even doing good enough? And then a lot of people get stumped, like, oh, okay, what is good enough, right? What are we really striving for in that sense? Yeah, we are already trying to push so far ahead without even realizing what is it that I have here right now at this point. Is that enough for me?
That's very deep, guys. I'm like processing right now. Am I good enough? Like, is it enough? Like, enough is the word. Okay, so the main key word right now that we can take away today is enough. Am I enough? Are we enough? I feel like done enough, right? Yeah, I feel like that's a really deep thought. I have to like digest a bit.
Yeah, so a very good question is this, right? This podcast that we're having, right? So what is your measurement of being a good enough host?
Ooh, being a good enough host. This is my first time actually hosting.
Correct.
So I'm actually very like nervous.
Yep.
But a good enough host maybe like not show that I'm nervous in front of the guests. I feel like just now I was like menggeletar, guys. Yeah, very nervous.
But you see, the thing is when you're hosting for the first time, is it normal and natural to feel nervous?
Yes. Oh my god. I've never got that insight. You know, like sometimes when you do something for the first time, okay, everything needs to be my way. Like it needs to be perfect, right? But just now she just asked me a very good question, guys. Is it normal? It is normal. It's normal for us to feel nervous. Is this your first time doing a podcast?
Podcast, yes.
See,
Am I nervous? Yes.
Yes. So
So it's
both of us
natural
are
and normal.
nervous, guys. It's normal sometimes for like life to not like we not be the best at life. Okay, it's normal. Like it's life, right? So now I jadi therapist pula, guys.
So you have the making. You're starting.
Yes, starting point. We have to start somewhere. Okay, so about body positivity, I think another side would be like, okay, I personally, right, Miss Siti, I've never actually cared about like how I look, because when I grow up, I feel like okay, I'm okay, I'm thin, I'm not that like big size, whatever. But then right now, I feel like, especially on TikTok, #gym TikTok, #body health, like a lot of hashtags lah.
Yeah.
So when I see that, you know what I recently did? I actually signed up for like gym membership.
Very good.
Okay, I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a good thing, guys. Like, it's the societal pressure to like go to the gym and stuff like that. So, but then when like I've not started yet, but I feel like I need like before stepping into the gym and like working out, right? I have to like reflect on myself. Okay, first, what do I actually want from like going to the gym, seeing all of these people with like S-line figure in like social media and stuff like that, right? So I feel like I also need advice. Like, okay, what if I cross that line? Like, oh, I go fine too deep and that I put my health at risk, you know? Yeah, so do you have any advice?
So first thing first, congratulations. You have started the journey of wanting to be healthy, right? Second, very good. Even before stepping in, you're already asking yourself, what am I doing this for, right? And that probably will help you understand what's going to drive your motivation, how much energy and effort you're going to put into this particular activity that you are thinking of doing. Okay, so this goes in line with the misconception about body positivity. So this is by research, not by myself. So there are two things that they have mentioned about misconceptions. One is that we are very influenced. Okay, they use these two terms. Thinspiration.
Sorry?
Thinspiration.
Thinspiration.
And then the other one is fitspiration.
Fitspiration.
Which is what you're thinking, what you have just described. Yeah. So
Mm.
thinspiration is things that's related to being influenced, being inspired to try to be slim and thin, right? The other one is fitspiration, which is, I think, very trending right now, where you see a lot of images of very well-toned people, and people who look really good, and they're always
Abs,
exercising,
yeah.
right? And then you have your friends, on social media who also talk about how much they're exercising and things like that, and then you're like, oh, I want to be that toned. I think if I'm going to be like that, I think I'll look good and things like that. Yeah. So the question about what is driving this motivation? Are you doing it for yourself because you want to be healthy? Again, when you say you want to be healthy, why? Right? We just say like, oh, you want to be healthy, and everybody says, oh, very good, right? That's what I just did, right, just now, right? But what is it that you are trying to strive to be healthy for? Right? Is it to maintain a good lifestyle, to make sure that you don't get medical conditions, or is it because you just want to look good and be appreciated for it? There's nothing wrong in wanting to look good, right? It's very normal, right? But then is that enough for us, right? And also, where do you draw the line? My guess is that when you become obsessed with it, when it takes over your life, where your quality of life in a way is impaired because of this constant wanting to be looking like that, or wanting to do it because you must. Okay, so when you hear yourself starting to say, I should look like that, right? So this is already for us, is amber lah, yellow light, like, okay, warning, maybe,
Warning, beep, beep, beep. Yeah.
I has to take a pause to figure out, like, okay, what am I really doing this for?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, okay, just now was like perfect. Before I step into the gym, okay, maybe because this is Halal Travel Podcast, we do everything for Allah lah, guys. Yeah, we do everything for Allah. I think everything will be smooth sailing, I feel like. Yeah.
Okay, so if you use that,
Yeah.
if let's say now you reframe your intention, right? You want to step into a gym, you want to be healthy. If you're doing it for Allah, how can you actually say it in a way that it becomes your mantra that you can use?
I feel like if we say like for Allah, right, there's many like subcategories to it. Like macam, if I want to be healthy so that I can take care of my parents, that one is also like serving for like Allah, right?
Yes.
And then like be healthy for myself so that I can serve contribute to the society, things like that. I think like once I reframe my intentions and things like that, I won't go into like the rabbit hole, like the dark space of like being obsessed to like look good. Obviously, like right now when I see like on TikTok and stuff like that, I go to the gym because I want to look good. I feel like that's like the intention.
Yep.
But once I feel like it's really important for us to like always reframe our intention, then I feel like we will not be be too obsessed, things like that.
I think the word here probably we're looking for is blessings lah. right? That whatever we do, if we do it with the right intention, inshallah, it'll be blessed, and whatever the outcome, we know Allah is always guiding us.
Yes, I agree, guys. Okay, so the next question would be: are there any practical exercises or techniques you would recommend or advise for us, especially the youths out there and listeners, to promote self-acceptance and body positivity?
Okay, so we need to understand this. Body positivity is not just about physicality. It's very much tied into our psychology, the way we think about ourselves, our attitude, the way we see ourselves, the experience that we have. This all will influence how we can manage in that sense. So when you talk about how can we make sure we control, manage the influences and things like that, first of all, I think like you've already pointed out, the intention, right? When you see something, you get influenced and you want to do something, first of all, ask yourself, what am I doing this for? Why am I being influenced by this, right? What is driving this motivation to want to do something? Is it because, for example, I grew up in a family that is not financially well, so now that maybe I'm working, I have money, I want to be able to enjoy it, right? So, but what is it really fulfilling? What is the function of this behavior? Is it to feel satisfied, to just enjoy, to brag to people that you can and therefore you want to do it? But it's just because you've earned this money, right? And this is something that is alhamdulillah within your means, right? And you can enjoy it. Why not? Right? There's nothing wrong in Islam also that we can have enjoyment, but to what cost, right? Is that at the expense of our ibadah or our iman and things like that? So again, it's always like just checking. Have certain pauses in our life when we do something, especially making big decisions. What am I doing this for, and what is it trying to fulfill? A need, a want? Yeah, I guess the other one is also about knowing knowing yourself, right? If you are knowing yourself, if you know you're someone who's easily influenced, then do you want to be friends with many influencers who will get you into that mode of thinking, I always want, right? And if you know you're the kind who cannot resist, maybe you want to perhaps limit yourself, right? To maybe certain people, certain role models that perhaps has more positive or something that it's easier for you to manage in that sense. Yeah, so it's always about knowing yourself, knowing what your strengths are and perhaps what you might be weak in, and trying to do it within your means.
Especially now that we are using like Instagram and TikTok and stuff, I feel like we as the user also, we have the power to control what we see. It's like the saying, we are what we eat. So on social media, we are what we eat. What we consume, what we see online daily, I think we have the control to filter out those influences that maybe might influence us badly. I don't know what to say, but that's their job. Their job is to market things and stuff like that. But we have to be like in control of ourselves to like the content that we see, right? I think that's like a good reminder, because right now people will like, alah, this thing everybody say we are what we eat, we are what we consume online, but it's actually a really important thing, guys. I feel like filtering out, I personally, like right now I want to do like a social media breather. Like I don't want to have Instagram, I want to have TikTok, but what I'm doing right now daily, I manage Halal Trips TikTok, I manage Halal Trips like social media and stuff, right? So I feel like okay lah, after intern maybe I'll take a breather. I feel like it's really important for us, especially in this era, to like take a breather sometimes. Do you agree?
Detox lah, right? You take a time out, a break from this. Social media is not wrong, right? It's more about how we consume it, how we use it. And I like the word you say, control, because when we talk about body positivity, where people are having difficulties with body image, and they try to control, I mean, they want to look a certain way and things like that. A lot of them like then have issues with eating. Either they overeat, they undereat, and things like that. And it's a lot actually about control. Because what else can you control, right? In that sense, and a lot of people do try then they project it onto eating, right? I don't want to eat this much. Then I will look better and things like that. We've come across a lot of clients and patients where they become very obsessed with it. So even though by health standards, they are actually very healthy, they are actually quite slim, but because they are so influenced and it's already so ingrained in their mind about what is the image of beauty, that they say it's not enough, it's never enough, right? Again, the good enough, right? So what is good enough?
What is good enough? Talking about like relationships and stuff, I think like it's very relevant to our audience right now. Macam, how do we like have that confidence to, be who we are in front of that significant other? Yeah, because sometimes kita jumpa, like we meet a boy for example. So for me, I meet a boy and then I'm like, I really like this boy lah. But we have the tendency to like not be ourselves.
Yep.
And then before the first date, am I thin enough? Like, okay, do I look good? Macam, yeah, what would he think about me? But I feel like for another person to like us, to love us, we have to like love ourselves. But this quote, right, is being thrown all over. Oh, you have to love yourself, blah blah blah. But actually, how do we do it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe before I even answer that question, that question about wanting to impress, your potential partners, inshallah, potential spouse, right? I think the question is this: what do we want them to accept us for? Right? Is it physical appearance? Is it for our personality, or just us being ourselves? Right? But we cannot deny that when it comes to relationships like this, impressions do matter, right? And physicality, whether we like it or not, is something that we will see first. Because when I meet you, I don't hear you, right? Maybe I may hear some things about you already, but the first impression is always probably one of the strongest. It is probably something that is known already, right? That physical appearance is first, and then as you get to know each other, then other things come in, right? So, and I don't think it's wrong about wanting to look good, and wanting to appear presentable, right? It's very normal and natural. Even for this podcast, we both want to look good, right? Yeah. So what more wanting to impress, and inshallah, hopefully this person will be your partner or your spouse. So when you talk about wanting to accept yourself, love yourself, it's a very big question. It is something not very easy for us to always love ourselves. I always see as like it's like our iman. Our iman is not stable, right? There's going to be days when our iman we feel stronger. There are days when we don't feel as strong, which is the same with how we see ourselves. There's going to be days when we are going to feel good about ourselves. If you ask the most confident person, right, there are going to be moments when they have doubts, like, do I really look good, right? Is this really beautiful, and things like that. So let's be kind to ourselves. Life is already very difficult, very stressful, right? So let's be kind and like, we can't always feel on top. Again, we can always be the best, feel the best, and always be the best. But there's going to be moments where we feel less than that, and maybe that's good enough.
That's good enough. Maybe that's okay.
Yeah. So, but then how do you start, or maybe how do you ensure you can love yourself more? I've introduced this concept in my practice, which I call the inner cheerleader. Right, so we have the self-critic, which I say the inner critic, right? Inner critic versus inner cheerleader. The inner critic is the one that tells us, oh, something happened. Oh, why did you do that? How come you cannot do like that? Why didn't you think of this and things like that? Okay, that's very natural. It comes very naturally. It's ingrained in us from very young, and become very judging of others and ourselves. How about now we bring in the voice of the inner cheerleader? When I use the term inner cheerleader, I'm talking about that voice that comes in and tells us, hey, no matter what, you are loved, you are beautiful, right? You are valued for who you are. So when I talk about this voice, it's something that you can develop. So for example, if you don't mind if I ask you, right, who loves you unconditionally?
My mom.
Right? If let's say today you don't look good, would she still love you?
She still loves me. I masam-masam pun dia still love I.
Correct.
Malas-malas pun dia still sayang I.
Yeah. So your mom can be one of your inner cheerleader whenever you feel like, hey, I don't feel so good about myself. I feel very nervous. I feel like I'm not at my best, and I need, like, I'm just hearing a lot of criticism about myself. Then maybe you want to invite the voice of your mom. If she's here with me, right, what would she say to me? Right, what would she say about how I'm doing now? And how would she encourage me? Right, so we can try to make the voice of the inner cheerleader louder than the inner critic. Right, but I must also say the other aspect of it is to also develop a group of people that can be your cheerleaders. This is your external cheerleaders, right? So I have good friends, I have my family. My best cheerleader, of course, is Allah, right? And my second one is my husband, right? So I know that when I don't feel good, when I hear criticism that really affects me, then I invite these voices, like what would they say to me about what's happening here? If let's say my inner cheerleader is not chirping today, not very loud, so how can I bring these voices out for myself so that I know that whatever, it can be a very bad day, it's I probably make a boo-boo and things like that, but at the end of the day I go back, my mom still loves you. Your mom still loves you, sorry, not my mom. My mom will still love you, I'm sure my mom will still love you. But these are people who will love you regardless, no matter what. Right, so just having that thought planted and making it as strong as possible, perhaps that's a start. The other thing is, again, to remember that body positivity is not just about physicality, right? How you look at yourself. What are things that's good about you, right? So for example, if I were to ask you, name me one feature that you like about yourself.
Physical, is it?
Yes, one feature.
Maybe my eyes. Macam orang tengok itu terus macam luring itu.
Right.
I'm kidding.
Okay. Have people told you that you have beautiful eyes?
No, I perasan sendiri. Boleh.
No, it's okay. We will work with that. Right. So it's good. You have the confidence that your eyes are beautiful.
Yes.
Right. So you know it for yourself. Right. People don't have to tell you. You can confidently say, my eyes.
My
know.
eyes.
Yeah. So continue to work with it. Like, why are my eyes beautiful? Because look, I have two eyes, right? They're shining, they're sparkling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even though they are perhaps big or small or whatever it is, right? But these are my eyes, and I can do things with them, right? When I know, like, if I look a particular way, this is my most attractive in a way lah. Yeah. So it might be physical, but what you're actually working with is actually the thoughts behind what you're associating it with, right? Positivity, right? I like my eyes; they are my most beautiful features, and how can I work with that? To make it my way of starting to love myself, right? So that you can work your way through. So if you want to criticize yourself, I'll give you a reason to criticize yourself first, because that's very natural. Like, what is it I didn't do that's good enough for this relationship, right? So I think whenever things don't go right, it's never just one person's fault. Okay, it's probably two ways. Perhaps it's again, take a pause, to figure out like how was I in this relationship that perhaps may have contributed, right? And then if you realize that, okay, this is what maybe I didn't do enough, own it. Okay, maybe I didn't. He needed a lot of validation, and I didn't do enough of that, and because of that, he felt insecure. So yeah, that's my fault. But am I truly, responsible for what happened? Maybe there were other things, right? Again, if we always bring back to Allah, right, to our religion, in the sense that things always happen for a reason. It is always very difficult for us to see that at that point in time, like, I thought he's the best for me. Why is it things didn't work out? Then what's going to happen? And I think a lot of it is the fear of, am I going to be able to find somebody else that's going to be as good or even better, or it's going to be worse? Then, or am I never going to be able to find anybody?
Single forever, guys.
Yeah. So is that the fear, or is it really about yourself, right? So if it's really about yourself, then perhaps yes, maybe it is about trying to examine and evaluate how then perhaps of course you go emo first lah, you don't want to listen to all the emo songs, you want to feel sad and things like that. We will feel that way. At the same time, take that opportunity to perhaps ask yourself, okay, what about myself that I can be better, because I want to be better for myself so that I can be better for others, right? So it's always about yourself first, and then think about because you can only give if your cup is full.
Yes.
Right? If your cup is empty, there's no way you can give.
Correct, guys. A very good advice for us yang tengah nak cari kan potential partners out there. Okay, so we were talking about how body positivity is not always about our physical appearance, and I know this is kind of like a really sensitive topic, but I want to talk about like eating disorders, like bulimia and like eating disorders. Some people, I don't know lah, but right now the society is already accepting this, macam macam they accept lah, like people do go through this eating disorders, right? But I think some people still macam confused. What are the thought process of these patients? Like, when you say you have bulimia, what does that actually mean? Macam, what's the thought process, and like how can we overcome it?
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to tie this again with the misconception of body positivity as well, because we think that when we talk about eating disorders, it's very related to women and females. In fact, even males can suffer from it, and even our brothers, right, do have doubts about their own, image, their own body positivity and things like that. So let's get out of the way, that it can happen to anyone, male and female, right? Now, when you get to that, when we get to that point where it becomes a disorder, it's probably at a way you probably need professional help. Because if you've been diagnosed with it, you need a lot of support, because eating disorders, again, is not about just not eating or wanting to control your eating. It has to do a lot with your self-worth, what you think about yourself, whether you respect yourself, how you are holding views and expectations of people on you and yourself of yourself. Right, and again, like I said, these are all very psychological, which is very related to the body. And I also want to say, if let's say you know of someone who has this issue, take it seriously, because there are people who die out, because of eating disorder. It is a serious condition when it's not well controlled. If you're already starting to feel like, very much wanting to control your food intake, exercises and things like that, because you feel you're not thin enough, you don't look good enough, and you're finding yourself very hard to get out of that mode of thinking, it might really be very helpful to talk to someone you trust to figure out, like, why are you feeling that way, is it really about the body, or is it about how you are thinking about yourself, how you're feeling and experiencing yourself and your body? Because quite a bit of it can be projection of, like, we've been told since young, like, you must do well, you must you must always get A's, for example. You must go to a particular school, you must be thin, you must look good and things like that. So a lot of this gets ingrained in us, and sometimes one way we might then start to protest is to control our body, and which is why eating disorders can emerge, because that's one way we can control, because generally people cannot force us to eat, right? Only I can eat, right? Yeah. So there are some people who then chooses to try to take control by managing how much they take or don't take their food and exercise.
Okay. So if let's say I were to know like someone, an individual or someone who I know that go through this like eating disorder, so where can I lead them to?
Okay, so maybe not just eating disorder, but maybe when you realize that they're just obsessed about certain things, that it's impairing their function, and the quality of life and things like that. We're always looking at people who are not functioning at their baseline, right? Who's doing too much or too little, that it doesn't seem quite their normal self, right? So first of all, I think it's always very helpful to have support from friends, from peers, from family members, and secondly, at some point, if let's say it is not enough, right? Where they find that even with that support, it is very tough, it's challenging. It is actually okay to go and see a professional, a mental health professional. In fact, I always like to use this analogy. When for sportsmen, right? They always have that whole slew of support for them, right? Their trainers, their financial support. They even have their psychologists and things like that. Why not the ordinary people like us, right? Why can't we once in a while just make sure we come in and talk to someone who help us, give us space to be able to figure out, like, are there some things that is causing me not to perform at a level that I would like to, right? Or I've noticed that I'm getting stuck in a lot of things. Perhaps maybe it might be helpful for me to just speak to someone and see that maybe get a bit of support in that area, right? So yeah, don't be afraid. We as therapists, we don't bite, right? What we seek is to actually help to understand what you might be going through and what's happening. What has been happening to let you to be where you are at this point in time, and really the intention is to help you maximize your potential.
Alhamdulillah, I think I've learned a lot today from this sharing session. I got free therapy, guys, from this session. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so it's been a very enriching discussion. So thank you, Miss Siti Mariam, for gracing our episode today.
Amazing guest.
Amazing guest. Okay, Miss Siti Mariam, do you want to say something about where can people contact you on private space, maybe?
Yeah, so we have a website. You can just actually look for us at, if you just Google Private Space Medical, you can look for us there. If you Google my name, it will appear as well. Yeah, or right now that you have your podcast, you probably have a link as well.
Yes, we'll leave everything dekat description, guys, don't worry. Okay.
Yeah, if you're not sure, you can always just give a call to my clinic or to any clinics that you feel comfortable with, to just ask some questions like, is this the right time for me to come in, and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for episode 3 of the Halal Travel Podcast. See you on the next episode. Thank you, guys. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. All the best.
Alright guys, thanks for listening. So we'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to give us a shout out on anchor.fm/the Halal Travel Podcast. Your voice message could be featured in our next episode.
Yup, and if you have any advertising and collaboration opportunities, contact us at info@halaltrip.com. That's info@halaltrip.com.
Also, don't forget to follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Halal Trip. We're also now on Telegram and TikTok. Until next time, get inspired, go and inspire others.